talk about the Monday session from Monday through to Thursday. What has been happening? What are the key takeaways? We're looking at the fact that we've had a representation of different stakeholders who actually were participating in these sessions, whether it's government officials, whether it's key experts, international experts. What were the conversations that were held, and what can we take away from that?
Thank you very much. Maybe before I go into the Monday meeting, just to highlight that the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, has 22 member states, Botswana being one of them. We joined in 1998. And then ARIPO continues to recruit or to invite other African countries to join. So right now we have the 22 member states, and we also have 2 potential member states who are still observing and coming to our meetings to see whether they can benefit something by being members. So there's Ethiopia and Burundi, which are here with us to try and engage with us. Now going back to your question on what has been taking place since Monday. So this meeting attracted these 22 member states as well as other stakeholders, people that we partner with in progressing the mandate of intellectual property. Like your intellectual property agents, we had a couple of them from within and outside Botswana. We had a couple of other institutions like the EU that deal with intellectual property. OAPI is a sister organization that is based in Cameroon. We had a couple of stakeholders that came on Monday. So really the key issue, the whole of since Monday, was to firstly to look at ARIPO to say how is ARIPO performing in relation to its mandate. We looked and assessed how it is performing with regards to the protocols that it administers, and we have realized that there has been a growth in terms of how ARIPO is doing in administering the protocols. We have looked at the revenue status of the organization. We realized that the financial health of the institution is growing, because we experienced a growth in terms of the revenue that ARIPO is generating that enables it to be able to sustain itself as an institution. Further to that, the member states of ARIPO also considered how to now move the organization from where it is now into a future organization that is actually able to make an impact in its member states and Africa at large. So in so doing, some few years back, ARIPO member states adopted a strategy that is going to be used, and a structure that is going to be used to implement that strategy. So one of the key things that happened during the past few days was for the member states to actually adopt or approve recruitment of key positions that will enable ARIPO to now move forward, not only just to administer the protocols, but also to enable ARIPO to generate other revenue through other means, like, for example, looking at, we are in the digital economy now. When it comes to commercialization of, we hold, because of the mandate, we hold a lot of data. So these kind of things, conversations that are being considered to say, when it comes to business development, what is it ARIPO can do? And that can only be done if there are key positions in place. So those are some of the key takeaways. And then to add into that, other stakeholders also came on board, like AFRIPI and the Canadian IP office. They also shared experiences of how they're doing on their side, and also possibilities which they can provide and avail to cooperate with the African countries to help us move forward to get closer to where they are really.
You spoke at length about ARIPO, and obviously Botswana being affiliated to ARIPO, being among the 22 countries speaks volumes, and obviously has its benefits. Let's talk about you did mention the strategy as well, ARIPO's strategy, which is a 4-year strategy, which obviously has issues around even human capital development as well. Intellectual capital is key to IP development. Indigenous knowledge is also a very important aspect, and we're looking at Africa as a whole, population that goes into the billions, right? Africa has indigenous knowledge, which could be very well said that it's not really fully tapped into. And of course, this is when our IP strategies and instruments that can actually facilitate or enhance that come into play. What can be said right now in terms of SIPA and the linkages between SIPA and WIPO and ARIPO in terms of facilitating Africa's indigenous knowledge and promoting it to bring about levels of sustainability within the region?
Okay, thank you. Look, indigenous knowledge is something that, like you've rightly pointed out, is something that we have in Africa. And then you find that the developed world do not so much understand indigenous knowledge, particularly when we try and relate it to the classic classical IP system. So what is basically happening is that at an international level, there are discussions around how intellectual indigenous knowledge protection can be harmonized, which unfortunately is a challenge because other countries don't understand it. But then when we come to Africa, it's a topic that we realize that we need to engage with and come up with systems that can protect it so that we can be able to generate revenue from it. So ARIPO has a protocol that is called the Solomon Protocol. It is a protocol that deals with the protection of traditional knowledge or indigenous knowledge. And as a country, we also have in the Industrial Property Act provisions for the protection of traditional knowledge. What needs to be done now is for us to open up conversations such that we ensure that we don't end at the law, but we protect it, and also to go back to our people and encourage them to utilize the indigenous knowledge system that we have. I'm glad to say that in our IP policy that was launched last year by His Excellency the President of Botswana, we have provisions for how we can harness our traditional knowledge systems for the benefit of Botswana. And I should also highlight that already in the market, we are seeing some Botswana taking a lot of interest in coming up with products that are around our traditional knowledge systems. For example, we have somebody who is working on, they have come up with products around utilization of donkey milk, which they borrowed the knowledge from the fact that donkey milk is something that is healthy and is good. So they've come up with a number of products. So we are seeing people now beginning to come up with initiatives and products that actually tap from the indigenous knowledge. So really the key thing is for us to continue with awareness creation.
Indigenous knowledge is also very broad. I mean, it also incorporates issues around whether it's spirituality, whether it's culture, whether it's even ritualistic, expressions, if you may. So what can be said in terms of what can be registered, what can't be registered? Because oftentimes, even with this indigenous knowledge, like you mentioned, the relevance of it, maybe in terms of exporting it, what can be exported and what can remain just domesticated?
One thing is that with indigenous knowledge, a lot of it is passed down from one generation to another. You find that with time we are not able to attribute to a particular individual, unlike the modern intellectual property system. So the laws are said that a community can be able to register indigenous knowledge, or if it is an individual family that has kept the indigenous knowledge practice, they are also able to practice. The key thing is that as long as it meets the requirement of being an indigenous knowledge system that has been practiced over generations, it can be protected.
Let's talk about, Botswana obviously has her own instruments here. Obviously, the Copyright Act as well as the Industrial Property Act. Let's unpack them for a moment and just, obviously in layman's terms, just for the understanding of everyone, how the value of these acts actually promote where we're going in terms of, development.
Yes. Intellectual property is an umbrella word that covers two categories of these types of rights. We have copyright and neighboring rights, or copyright and related rights, and then we have industrial property. Copyright and neighboring rights protect your music, your artistic works, your books, your poems, drama, films, and all the like. While the Industrial Property Act protects the intellectual property rights that are used in industry, as the word says. And these include things like patents, trademarks, your logos, and also things like your geographical indication, where the products actually show where they originate. The name of the product shows where it originates. For example, we know that we have champagne. No any other wine that doesn't originate in the region of Champagne in France can be called champagne. That is a geographical indication. So basically those are the two categories of intellectual property. So with the industrial property, for one to get protection, they need to register. While with copyright, protection is automatic upon creation. One doesn't need to create, to register, I mean. Yes.
So there's so many fancy names floating around. We have patents, we have trade secrets, thank you. Trade secrets, we have copyrights, we have What are the distinguishing factors there, and for the understanding of those who are, of course, listening?
Yes, really the distinguishing factor in all these, when you have created a work, we are able to listen to you as to what you have created, and then we are able to guide to say what you've come up with falls under copyright, or it's a patent, or it's a trademark, and all the like. So really it's a question of being guided in terms of what is it that is protected. For example, a trademark is something that distinguishes goods. For example, Coca-Cola against Fanta and Lucky Fruit. That is what a trademark is. While with copyright, we are able to tell whether yours is music or it's drama or all the like. Yeah.
Let's talk about, obviously it's something that is, I do believe it's enshrined within the WIPO and the ARIPO strategies. Innovation. Innovation is also a big word in terms of if you're going to intellectual property, you need to innovate, and also has to be inclusive in a sense. Where do we come in terms of, adopting or implementing the inclusivity part of things, and then the innovation part of things?
May you please repeat your question?
We're looking at innovation and innovation. Let's start with innovation. It's actually in the IP ecosystem. In the IP ecosystem, innovating is very important. Where do we come in as maybe as Botswana, as a country, as a member of ARIPO, and of course with interactions or engagements with the WIPO, for instance? We're also big on innovation. What does it mean to us, and to what extent are we innovating? Maybe that's basically what I'm asking. To what extent are we innovating in our IP ecosystem?
Okay, so really the IP ecosystem is quite broad, as you have rightly pointed out. There is the part of creating the IP, that is where we start. And then after creating, we talk protection, that is where SIPA comes in. And then the other end is like commercialization and consumers accessing the product. So what is critical for the audience to know is that for us to talk of any IP, there has to be people who create IP. So in terms of innovation as a country, I would say we are upcoming, because a lot of times when you talk innovation strictly, it is a scientific approach to creating solutions to technical problems. So we need to have our innovators, our scientists, looking at the problems that we have around and then coming up with solutions. Then they're innovating and creating new protectable intellectual property. So you find that as a country, a lot of the times our people are either innovating, but they are not aware that they need to protect their rights. Or sometimes you find that a lot of the times our scientists are not innovating with an objective to come up with a new solution, and then they get it protected. So our research institutions are supposed to be the ones leading in the aspect of innovation or inventing new solutions. But we find that we still have a gap that needs to be closed there as a country.
Let's backtrack on the conversation we had about traditional knowledge or indigenous knowledge. On traditional knowledge or indigenous knowledge. You did mention the fact that a lot of the characteristics of or the expressions of indigenous knowledge have been passed down through oral tradition from one generation to another. So who owns it? Who owns it? And when you come to a point where maybe as a doctor, a traditional doctor for instance, or a creative in your own right, and you want to register that IP, where did it come from, and can you actually claim ownership or rights to whatever it is?
Yeah, with traditional knowledge, like I mentioned earlier, it depends on whether it is owned by a community or it is owned by an individual. Whoever owns it can then claim rights. And what we have to highlight is that because of the prior knowledge that traditional knowledge provides, a lot of scientists are taking a lot of interest in traditional knowledge system. Then they sort of research around it to determine what kind of product they can come up with. For example, we've had an issue of the Hoodia, where we are told that some researchers came, engaged Basara, and realized that they consume the Hoodia plant when they go to hunt. And that sort of suppresses the hunger and thirst. In the process, it means that it makes them not to eat a lot. So scientists then came up with a way of extracting certain components and came up with tablets that help for weight loss. So basically this is to say that traditional knowledge is owned by the people that own it. Now researchers, when they want to use it, the laws that are being negotiated at an international level is that they should also seek authorization from the original owners, so that when they do these researches and commercialization, there is also access and benefit sharing for the communities that own this indigenous knowledge.
Maybe now let's speak to this, where we are now. We're seeing, a setup of local business and entrepreneurs present here. And obviously they, I do believe they also have an understanding of, where they are, where they come into, the equation. To what extent do we really understand IP as business communities or different communities across the country? And what are you doing as SIPA in terms of, furthering that understanding or creating, necessary dialogue and even education around, the positioning?
We try by all means to create awareness. We engage through various forums, and whenever we have an opportunity, we always join other organizations when they have opportunities for us to create awareness. What I should highlight as one of the key things that we never miss is that every year on April 26th has been declared the World Intellectual Property Day. So we always identify local entrepreneurs that are upcoming. We have created intellectual property and create awareness, and also partner with them in creating awareness further to other entrepreneurs. So you will find that those that we have invited today to come and exhibit their products are some of those that we have worked with in the past. Like, for example, the company that uses donkey milk. We have Botswana who create products through moringa. Others have created products around Murula. So we encourage them to register and take them through the process. And when we have these campaigns, we always use them as case studies for them to testify to others what that does to them.
Are you able to speak to maybe the statistics? Are there any statistics around in terms of the registration of copyrights, patents, trade secrets? Do we have a database or significant statistics that we can speak to that actually might give us an indication of how well we're doing in that space?
I may not be able to give you the statistics as we are talking now. But yes, we do have a database for the protection of industrial property, which I indicated that it needs to be registered. But with copyright, we don't have to register, but you can come and deposit a copy. So the record of how many people have deposited their copy, it's something that we can be able to generate the statistics for.
So there are 22 countries represented here. Botswana is, of course, one of them. Are there any linkages with other countries in terms of maybe shared experiences or, projects that we're working on that actually obviously have the common trait of, IP exchange to any degree? I mean, we have Eswatini, Liberia, Rwanda, Uganda. There's so many countries represented here.
Yes, through the ARIPO forum, we interact quite a lot through training programs, other awareness creation programs. And I just wish to highlight one program that we had. We collaborated with WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, 2 years back, and we came up with a project where we are going to create awareness in schools by establishing intellectual property clubs in secondary schools. So the project was piloted using Botswana, Malawi, and Zimbabwe. So what happened is that in each country, we engaged schools and came up with clubs in schools where we created IP awareness. And then there was a competition within the country, and then we competed among ourselves as the 3 countries. In the process, Botswana last year emerged as the winner in that competition. So basically, this is to say that in our awareness creation programs, we engage each other and say, what are the areas, what are the critical issues that we need to address so that we ensure that our IP awareness has been created.
MOKGWEETSI, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
insightful conversation, of course, from MOKGWEETSI, who is from SIPA, and His Excellency Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI has arrived here at Hotel 430, and of course to officiate the 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the Africa Regional Intellectual Property Organization, an event which of course is telling of Botswana's potential within the IP space or IP ecosystem. And of course there's so many conversations that we can expect or takeaways from this event, as you know, rightfully said by MOKGWEETSI from SIPA. We are a representation of 22 countries here, 100 visitors and participants at this forum.
You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take this special opportunity to introduce all of you to this august occasion. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 19th session of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization Council of Ministers opening session. Madume, good morning. For the 10th year present, the millions, on thousands and millions that are watching, we are live on our national television, BTV. We are live on the social platforms, BW Presidency, Botswana Television, BW Government, and many other digital platforms by the private sector and other strategic partners that we have. We are live. Welcome to this session on this beautiful day of the 24th of November, the year 2023. And we are in the CBD. We've been made to believe and understand that it's quite a sunny day, but as the day goes by, it's going to be extremely hot, and we are all reminded to keep on hydrating. And I see that on our tables there, the bottles of water. Let's keep the spirit aglow in that regard. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your MC for today. My name is Benson Putero. Yes, a little pause to say, yeah, I need a round of applause. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. To our guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric MASISI, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Honorable Justice Ntomeng Majara, the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Mr. Darren Tang, Honorable Musi Khafela, Minister of Trade and Industry of the Republic of Botswana, Botswana Cabinet Ministers, Honorable Ziyambi, Chairperson of ARIPO Council of Ministers and also Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Honorable Ministers of ARIPO Member States, Permanent Secretaries of the Republic of Botswana, members of the Diplomatic Corps accredited to the Republic of Botswana, accredited representatives of the governments of ARIPO Member States, the Chairperson of the Administrative Council of ARIPO, Mr. Joel Juk Ramaphoyi, Director General of ARIPO, Mr. Bemanya Tobaze, members of the Administrative Council of ARIPO, distinguished representatives of governments of the Observer Member States of ARIPO, distinguished representatives of ARIPO cooperating partners, senior government officials present, board members of SIPA, Levy on Technical Devices Fund Committee, arbitration panel members, and members of the Fourth Estate, our dear brothers and sisters of the media, ladies and gentlemen, once again, good morning and welcome to this opening session. A round of applause for all of you. We shall now have the welcome remarks by the chairperson of ARIPO Administrative Council, SIPA caretaker, CEO, Mr. Joel Juk Ramaphoyi.
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric MASISI. Allow me to simply say, with your permission, sir, to say protocol has been observed in the interest of time. I've been given a very small assignment to welcome you, and I will not do more or less than what I've been assigned to do, except to say very welcome to the opening of the 19th session of the ARIPO Council Members Session. And it is with great honor for Botswana to host this session and to welcome at least 21 ARIPO member states who are participating in this event this morning. So thank you to each and every one of you for being with us here this morning. But before we get started, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to all of you who generously helped us make this event come together to become a success. And I will name just a few: the Gambling Authority, SPEDU, Desailov Group, Adams and Adams, AFRIPI, NARDI, and without them, we could not have done this without you. So thank you very much for that support. So a very warm welcome to you once again to this morning's event. In the interest of time, I'll cut my welcome remarks this short. Thank you so much. Pula.
I thank you, Joel Juk Ramaphoyi. A round of applause for him one more time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, remarks from the Director General of ARIPO, Mr. Bemanya Tobaze.
The guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Masisi. Please allow me to stand on the protocols that have been established. It is a singular honor and privilege for me, on behalf of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, to address you at the opening of this 19th session of the Administrative Council, or the Council of Ministers of ARIPO. This council is held biannually, and it continues from the previous one that was held in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe in December 2021. It is thus a momentous occasion so befitting of a worthy homecoming for all of us here, for it is proven that Botswana is the origin of humankind. Let me start by appreciating the guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Masisi, first for the offer by the government of Botswana to host this monumental event, and of course, for the President's passion and understanding of what intellectual property can achieve for Africa. Your Excellency, I stand before you today with a sense of honor to congratulate you on your many achievements in IP. But also to appreciate you, Your Excellency, for the commitment you gave to me as Director General ARIPO during our brief meeting that ARIPO will never be the same again. Please appreciate His Excellency. Your Excellency, ARIPO was established with a vision to promote development, protection, and utilization of IP rights. It is thus within our respective government's province to establish the scaffolding for fostering innovation, research, and development towards economic growth. And in this regard, Your Excellency, your presence at this council is a true testament of your commitment to the development of IP and your support of the work ARIPO is doing. It further speaks to the collective determination to create a prosperous Africa. Just outside this room, Your Excellency, we marvel at the plethora of creations of artifacts, and each item represents ingenuity, artistic brilliance, and the untold stories of the African creativity. Truly indeed, the future of IP is in Africa. By 2030, the African youth will constitute 42% of the global count, presenting a vast pool of talent and trendsetters for tomorrow. ARIPO continues to be at the forefront of this transformative journey, providing a platform for collaboration, harmonization, capacity building in IP. We prioritize the modernization of IP roles across our membership, promoting the leveraging of emerging technologies because the digital economy presents immense opportunities for Africa to leapfrog the traditional development stages. As we gather here in Botswana with a common purpose, let us reaffirm our dedication to the principles that underpin ARIPO's mission within the broader context of the continental agenda of African Union, WIPO's development agenda, and the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Together, we can build a future where innovation flourishes from our respective states to establish tributaries that contribute to achieving to the Africa we want. Guest of honor, Your Excellency, as I conclude, let me recognize a special guest to this session of ARIPO's Council of Ministers, the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Mr. Darren Tang. You have been consistent on focusing on Africa, and this connotes that under your leadership, WIPO will leave no one, no country, and no region behind. Thank you very much. As we embark on this incredible journey to leverage our collective towards creating a global footprint, we know that we can count on you, Director General. Guest of honor, allow me to end these remarks by expressing once again our utmost appreciation to you for hosting ARIPO governing bodies meetings this week. I thank you.
We thank you, Director General of ARIPO, Mr. Bemanya Tabazi, on your remarks. You mentioning that His Excellency, you thank him for his commitment towards your agenda. It's one of his many unparalleled commitments as a president, and we are proud to be living in interesting times thanks to the ever-present president. And need you know, he's big on intellectual property. Our country is on a drive to be a knowledge-based economy, and we are not leaving behind indigenous knowledge. In this, our beautiful country, the obstetrics, traditionally we have them. Pediatrics, traditionally we have them. Even those that can bless you in different manners, in different ways. Intellectual property in this country is quite big, and our president is big on that one. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, just to amplify that, a round of applause for this sterling commitment. And without further ado, let me also try to appreciate and acknowledge the ARIPO member states, being Botswana, ladies and gentlemen, the Kingdom of Eswatini, Cape Verde, the Gambia, Ghana, Kenya, the Kingdom of Lesotho, Liberia, Malawi, Mauritius, Mozambique, Namibia, Rwanda, Sao Tome and Principe, Seychelles, Sierra Leone, Somalia, Sudan, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Kudos to you. Now, a mini commercial break. Let's have Kudu Tamaga, traditional troupe, to serenade us with our traditional song and dance in a very subtle manner. Another round of applause for Kudu Tamaka Traditional Dance Troupe. They gave 3 items. One of the items, obviously, they were singing and praising our cattle and alluding to the fact that, Your Excellency, it is a cow, milk it. You know, we milk our cattle for that milk and other dairy products so that we can feast and be merry and be healthy. So milk it diligently, let your leadership be sterling. The other one was Tutsube. Tutsube is the traditional Basarwa traditional dance. It's normally a narrative that shows a healing song and dance. And then there was a patisi that is from Kweneng, just to show celebration and dance in that regard. I just thought I should just interpret it a bit for you so that you understand the significance of that rendition. A round of applause one more time. This is Botswana. The next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, remarks from the chairperson of ARIPO Council of Ministers, Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs of Zimbabwe, Honorable Ziyambi.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Masisi, allow me, Your Excellency, to ride on the protocols. And allow me, Your Excellency, to express my gratitude at being allowed to speak after such beautiful music. And I want to thank the Master of Ceremonies for interpreting. I was just ululating and enjoying the dancing. I didn't understand what they were singing. So, Your Excellency, I'm very happy. As Africa, we are rich in our culture and it has been exhibited. I want to thank you and good morning to you all. I have the pleasure and honor on behalf of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, to address you all at this 19th session of Council of Ministers, taking place here in Gaborone in the Republic of Botswana. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our guest of honor, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Masisi, for making time to officially open this 19th session of ARIPO Council of Ministers. Your Excellency, sir, your presence at this function is a mark of recognition of the role of ARIPO as a driver of the development of intellectual property system in its member states and in Africa as a whole. We are also aware of your personal commitment to the cause of intellectual property, which denotes a clear understanding of its role in economic development. Your Excellency, allow me to extend our deep appreciation to my counterpart, the Honorable Musi Kafela, Minister of Trade and Industry of the Republic of Botswana, for his continued support to all ARIPO programs. I also like to acknowledge the support rendered by the Companies and Intellectual Property Authority of Botswana and officials from other departments of the government of Botswana. Your Excellency, sir, we are grateful for the warm hospitality and the excellent facilities which have been placed at the disposal of all delegates to ensure a comfortable stay in the beautiful city of Gaborone. Let me also take this opportunity to extend my appreciation to the Director General of ARIPO, Mr. Twebaze, and the dedicated staff of ARIPO for the outstanding work and arrangements made to ensure the success of this meeting. I wish to particularly commend Mr. Twebaze for his visionary leadership that I have no doubt will take our organization to greater heights. Your Excellency, sir, the Republic of Zimbabwe has had the honor of chairing the Council of Ministers during the last 2 years. I will therefore be relinquishing the chairmanship of the Council of Ministers during this session. It has been an honor, Your Excellency, and a rewarding experience for the Republic of Zimbabwe to serve as chair of Council of Ministers of ARIPO, an organization that Zimbabwe is privileged to host for the last 41 years. I would like to thank member states for the honor and trust reposed on Zimbabwe. As you may know, Zimbabwe was also the chair of the Administrative Council during the last 2 years. Allow me, therefore, to take this opportunity to thank the outgoing chairperson, Mr. Willie Mushai, for his exemplary leadership. He has been constantly updating me on his engagements, and I know that he worked hand in hand with the Director General of ARIPO and the entire membership of the Administrative Council to register the achievements that the organization registered during the period under review. Your Excellency, sir, the achievements of ARIPO give us confidence that the organization is repositioning itself as an intellectual property hub on the African continent. For this reason, it is paramount that ARIPO be recognized at the continental level in view of its role in advancing intellectual property among its member states and Africa as a whole. We are aware that the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area provides for a protocol on intellectual property rights that envisages the creation of a continental intellectual property office. In view of the role played by ARIPO and the gains already recorded, the creation of another competing IP office may be superfluous and not serve the real interests of the continent in achieving intra-African trade. This session should therefore reflect on further engagements to ensure that the continent leverages the progress recorded by ARIPO. Your Excellency, today we are pleased to welcome the Republic of Cape Verde, who joined ARIPO in July 2022. Thank you. I have also been reliably informed that membership drive is going on well through high-level engagements of observer states, and we are hopeful that in our next session we shall have new members in our midst. Your Excellency, sir, as I conclude, I would like once again to express my utmost appreciation for the government of Botswana for hosting ARIPO, governing bodies, and the unwavering support rendered to our organization. I wish to say that it has been a great privilege to serve ARIPO as chairperson of its Council of Ministers. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all members of Council of Ministers, members of Administrative Council, and the ARIPO Secretariat for their support to the Republic of Zimbabwe during the last 2 years that I have been chairman. ARIPO can count on Zimbabwe's continued full and active participation in the organization's activities. I would also like to express my gratitude to the cooperating partners for their continued support. Finally, I am proud of our achievements, and I express my sincere belief that my successor, who will take over the chair shortly, will do even better to take ARIPO to greater heights. I wish you all fruitful deliberations. I can't pronounce it. I'm going to learn from the Master of Ceremonies, and I will know the language very well. Thank you, Your Excellency, for gracing our official opening session. I thank you.
He was saying Ke a leboga. It means thank you very much. We are grateful. Thank you so much, sir. Language is universal. But I was marveling in your name. Like, as a newsreader, it is names like Honorable Ziyambi that I look forward to reading out. Many years ago when I was still growing and there were newsreaders on radio, they would read about those Butros, Ghali, those other ones. Even rebels like, let me not say the names of the rebels, but look, names that they've got sweet melody and they rhyme. You really want to associate with such names like His Excellency, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric Cabbage, then MASISI. It's a name that you want to call out and feel so good. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Now remarks from the WIPO Director General, Mr. Darren Tang.
Your Excellency, Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI, President of the Republic of Botswana, and let me join the other speakers in writing on the protocols. Good morning. It is a great honor to join all of you for the 19th session of the ARIPO Council of Ministers in this handsome and modern city of Gaborone. And let me begin by congratulating my dear friend, DG Dwabisi, on the successful 47th session of the ARIPO Administrative Council, whose decisions impact not just in one country, but across 22 countries. I also want to thank the Minister Ziambi for chairing the Council of Ministers and congratulate the incoming chair, Minister Mumusi Gafela, and wish you all the best as you take the helms of this important organization. I also want to recognize my many brothers and sisters in the audience. We in the IP community are close, we are like a family. So I cannot fail but to recognize all of them here in this beautiful morning. Let me start by also warmly thanking the President and the Government of Botswana, and of course not failing to mention our colleagues at SIPA for your warm hospitality and excellent arrangements. I had the honor of meeting the President in Geneva in May at WIPO headquarters, and it's a sign of our closeness to Botswana and the region that we're together again. This is the third time in a year, Excellency, that we're meeting, and I've met you the most of any head of state in the world, so I'm very happy to see you again. I think Namibia is a bit jealous, so I better hold back a little bit. But when I met President Masisi in Geneva earlier this year, he shared an insight which has remained with me ever since, and I want to share this with you. He told me that while Botswana is blessed with diamonds, the real diamonds are the ideas of his people. And he wants to build an IP ecosystem that allows these diamonds to be brought into the light where they can truly sparkle. I cannot agree more wholeheartedly, nor could I have put it more memorably. Africa is indeed blessed with the richness of your land and natural resources, but Africa's future will increasingly be blessed by the ideas and ingenuity of your people. And this transformation is already underway. First, startups, SMEs, and inventiveness is growing, and venture capital is flowing into the region. Venture capital deals grew by almost 50% in Africa last year, despite the global venture capital crunch. In fact, Africa was alone in avoiding a decline in VC investments in 2022. So this year, capital has continued to pour into homegrown startups from your region, like Degas from Ghana, WeLight from Madagascar, Yellow from Malawi, and Emata from Uganda, just a few that I'm naming, with each of these firms active in areas like agri-tech and green technology, all critical to putting the UN Sustainable Development Goals back on track. Second, as we saw this morning, Africa is a land of immense heritage, culture, and creative resources. And African creators are taking these traditional resources and traditional cultural expressions and transforming them into a new African cultural renaissance. Think about Nollywood or Gollywood. Think about Afrobeats. Already, Africa's creative industries generate over $4 billion in revenue, and this is just the beginning. And this is why Netflix has invested $160 million in African content in recent years, and Sony has launched a new innovation fund for the continent's entertainment startups. Third, in trade and economic connectedness, Africa is driving its own new chapter through the African Continental Free Trade Area, which will leverage 1.4 billion people into an economy that's already $3 trillion and will only grow. And fourth, I cannot fail but mention the institutions you have put in place, like ARIPO, which for the last over 30 years has been working so hard to build the IP infrastructure in Africa, and I believe will continue being such an influential force for many, many years to come. So let me put on record WIPO's full support for ARIPO. Driven by these and other trends, intellectual property continues to shift from the periphery to the center of ARIPO economies, serving not just as a legal right, but increasingly as a powerful catalyst for jobs, entrepreneurship, investments, growth, and sustainable economic and social development. Indeed, African patent filings reached their highest level in more than 20 years last year. Over the past 10 years, only patent filings in Asia have grown faster. Other filings through ARIPO are also performing well. Trademark applications grew by 13%, and design applications by almost 50%, driven by a strong rise in many of these by homegrown African innovators. These numbers tell a story of growth in IP filings, but what is interesting and encouraging is that other data backs up these trends as well. Just a few months ago, WIPO released the results of a survey of 25,000 people all over the world, laypersons, about attitudes towards IP. Interestingly, it showed that those in Africa, laypersons by the way, so not IP experts, not IP experts, laypersons in Africa have the highest awareness of trademarks in the world, and a more positive attitude towards IP than those surveyed from Europe or North America. All these are signs and indications that innovation, creativity, technology, and entrepreneurship are increasingly driving African dreams, ambitions, hopes, and desires. And that is why we, in the global and regional IP community, must not be content with business as usual, but we must instead transform the global IP ecosystem to turn these dreams into reality. IP officers in the region are listening to the ground and are themselves transforming from IP regulators and registries to innovation catalysts and agencies. WIPO is excited to be with you on this journey and to support you throughout. I'm pleased to share that we are supporting 7 ARIPO members to develop, implement, and update national IP strategies. And soon, 20 ARIPO members, almost all, will use iPass, our IP administration software that we provide for free to help our IP officers in ARIPO region become fully digital. Beyond strengthening the IP infrastructure in your countries, we are also delivering concrete, impactful projects to support those innovating and creating at the grassroots levels in your country. We have launched over 90 impact-driven projects around the world in the past 2 years, many of them in ARIPO member states. These include supporting women entrepreneurs in agribusiness, training and mentoring for youth and SMEs, bringing IP closer to traditional medicine practitioners, and supporting local handicraft and knowledge through IP-driven projects. And the best way of bringing all this alive is to share the stories of those we are reaching on the ground. And very quickly, I want to tell the story of someone from Botswana who is running this company called Oliphant Market Garden. Her name is Babui Naipetsi. I hope I didn't massacre the name. And she runs a farming business here. And she's one of the 6 women from the 16 ARIPO member states that's part of our new coaching and mentoring program on agribusinesses. Babui told us that recent years have been tough. She expanded her business only for the pandemic and bad weather to disrupt it. But her entrepreneurial spirit continues to shine bright. Now, as well as seeing how IP can help her to brand, market, and package her products, she's also, through this program, networking with peers from Ghana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, whose products have a market in Botswana. And as Babui told us, I'll quote her, "I call it a dream come true. Being in a room with women from different African countries all doing something new, I saw the opportunity for Africa to trade with itself." Close of quote. This is the impact that WIPO and ARIPO wants to have on the ground, but we cannot do it alone. This is why partnerships are at the heart of our approach, and that's why we are proud of our close and long-standing cooperation with our friends and colleagues at the ARIPO Secretariat, as well as the individual ARIPO member states. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue to work together to bring IP to the grassroots, build a more balanced and inclusive global IP ecosystem, and ensure that it works for everyone everywhere and leaves no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General of WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, Re Darren Teng. One more time, a round of applause for him, please. Thank you so much. So when there's a tongue twist, instead of saying WIPO, I said WIPO is because there's a ARIPO instead of ARIPO. So, so it's okay, we can live with it. Ladies and gentlemen, those that know, they say poetry is like condensed milk, while prose is plain milk. That is why when we have our poets and they give their renditions, we marvel in the score because there's deep messaging in there, and there's a poet that is coming in on that note to come and give his praise poetry. And poets are never alone, he's with his partner. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome poet Pace. He goes by the name Pace. Mopele Khofi.
MASISI o etela golongwa batana se golo pirika ipapata ka o komela Maria Kajo kutirata lalona tautora MASISI re bale kwalele mo Bible mo pelo re tsawa mo pedwa lontone o khamalele ine o tsori filo matho wana le ka monga me ka gora pela ka le wale batana ki khubame ke re tautora mala wa jala o ile Dubai o ile ka musita khwana wa ba dira gatsi ba go setse morago ba go boka tautona wa re ki sitsa o khala ka makhoe metsira tarai tala ganong a re bo a Dubai ra takale di la ponto le tletse pate Maria Malawajalo re buta etso ko mahatsa sele ka je kuritle mo hatsela Botswana Maafrika mantshonyana ba butegetse mo gaela batho bantle ba butegetse mo hatsela Botswana ba hoditse mollo maabane ntse le ba gotsa mollo ka tsatsila mosupulo ba ramollo le tautora MASISI aba kaetsa taba tsa botsedi ba ntse ha batse aba kaela taba tsa bokgale a re le kwa methabeng phutiri ntse ala kwa ARIPO mongame ka la ra bo re le kwa batakgolo re kwa methabeng kana sipa kgolo MASISI sipa wa watsi le go talosa mebala ara morana wa ka tjalo rapela putana mo botswana le to bona jo kwebe tule ke ba simba ko ba tle go rola ka je ko ba nala Ramaphosa ya ko ina misasa atlego mongame o ne molala re go ne jo ko go ga ARIPO mongame ka go rapela o ne mo etele dipele kana o ne mo na tilo ha tsela botswana le tsogeli poka ka wena le Ramaphosa kana o le sema Maphosa tabe Maria Malabajala tautona o tsama mahatsale mongame gore ba palela tsukuru a tauro le mekwele tletse mongame wa re tlisetsa dilo dinte ka je ko ke bona lo kgobokanye jaaka na le ditsalo a pele batsheng ke bona gona le batho ba sweu tautona nna ke re dumela mongame ra sekgowa segolo a ko ba ntumedise mongame ke a itse o tabara good morning Duma Maria Musika fela tsontsho ka mongame ko le tsamaragana bata segolo sa tshokitsile kana tsa trade industry o itsa ka tsone mongame gompieno mawala mo sakeng wa ba ditsipi wa ba bo ARIPO le bo sipa ga re sipa ke mmabatsa tsamagolo tsipa dikgolo dintsi tsotlhe mongame ke ka ba ke ta ka kgamelo e tetse mashi ga tsokana ga dipula ga ya phaila makuka ke ta bopa bopama mongame pula ko re na le tare na la report isitse maAfrika mantshonyana ba tsile ba tshela Botswana kana ka je kuri bua kgwebo ke go itse tautona o itse go buela ha tshela Botswana tautona a re o tsena ko rekisa ha tshela Botswana mala ke lebele ditshwantsho tsa motshikiyego ka gompieno re tle o bua le bone ba diragatsang ka ditshwantsho tsa motshikiyego mongame ba go ntse di mosetsa ke go bona kanye o ba neela po mongame o re a tsetana agriculture ye go dira sentle mongame nna ba mphile pudi tautona ka itse po ta empa mongame ka repela Maria maAfrika mantshonyana nantla se morutu tsidi di Botswana ka ja kore tlalo tlhabela khomo tlhaba lo tole lo ntse bala modikwa kwane le jale lona ka le tlora tla go sekhutsanyane ke tswa khakala le batho ba so mongame ke ba bone ba go China mongame ya re ke ba dumedisa mongame ke re ni ha dumela ke a dumedisa tautona wa ka ke go rapela ke go itsontse ra ba ruti ko dikereke bana ba khubama ka tsatsi la Sontaga ba re phiovo ba lwa pijeso a gore ka tsatsi la moleto batho ba tsabele ha tshela Botswana ba putela mo ha tshela Botswana ba tla bona tautona Masisi ngwana le ha tshudire ha tshela Botswana tsatsi le penne mongame a ropa ga maohane o ya kwa mongame ke itumela thata ke re wa go tla ka mekwele tletse tautona ra se kwa segolo re a tsena kwa mongame ke molemoge hela ka mmala ke re ke maAfrika wa Botswana yo montle ka je ko maAfrika ba mo phuthegetse ka kwano ba tlile go bua ka ARIPO mongame a iphi gompieno tautona o tlile go epolesha a ko we a ene mongame tautona ke itse go tshwara tema o go tshwara tema o lebe bolemete boleme bola ile ke tautona ga boko botswadi ba banka Duma sebata are le kwa khalagadi mongame tsamaela kwa sipa di ofisi di bulwa kwa mongame ba diragatsi re anamele a tshela Botswana tautona kana mongame dilo dintle di bona ba ko ga borone mme go leng teng dilo dintle di a teng tautona mongame ke a go rapela batho ba ARIPO mahatsha a selekane ba phuthegetse ka kono Botswana go tla go masekano ka je kura maphoile phoile tlotse motho a le a go gongwe ke mohutana wa masimo o taya go gongwe Ramaphosa mongame a konele ke tse thomo ke o ra gona ha ona le mongame ka fela dilo di tla tsamaya sentle Duma Zimbabwe o re itshwarela moamoga tshwana le rutla yone o e leboga ka mogwang wa yona tota nne re sa go amoge ka ntwa nne le ka mahatshe a bonang go tsamaya ka teng ka jakuri bua 19 session tautona o tsile mongamere mananeo mantera sekgowa setona tautona a na re ko dikereke mongame le mananeo a bosipa mongame ba ntsenya mo teng nama o ipele go o rile leina la me le kgolo ke systeme mongame o kompuele re ke khutsana mongame ke ratla ko sekhutshwanyane tautona ke a laela ke gona ke re ke ngwana ga mmatokwane na le ntshona le motsele molapo montso a bangolo ga moga ga tae manna e re basadi ba o tlola ba tsole makgabe. Goodbye.
Beautiful stuff, amazing stuff. You don't have to understand Setswana. Language is universal. Beautiful rendition, praise poetry at its best. What a befitting way to usher in our president. Ladies and gentlemen, we rise as I call to the podium His Excellency, President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI, for the keynote address.
Thank you very much. Kindly take your seats. The Director of Ceremonies, Mr. Benson Putero, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Honorable Justice Ntomeng Majara, the Host Minister, Minister Kafela, Director General, WIPO, Darantine, the Chairperson of ARIPO Council of Ministers, and Minister for Legal Affairs Justice and Legal Affairs in Zimbabwe, Honorable Zambi. Honorable Ministers from ARIPO, Member States, other ministers from Botswana here present, Permanent Secretary of the President, Permanent Secretaries here present, Chairperson of the Administrative Council of ARIPO, Joel Ramapoi, and the DG for ARIPO, Mr. Bimanya Twabeza, members of the Council, distinguished government and observers of ARIPO, members of the media, the creatives, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Today, as many have said, is a great day. It pleases me to address this 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO. The theme, IP for Economic Growth, resonates very well with Botswana's vision to become a high-income country anchored on a knowledge-based economy by the year of our Lord 2036. Allow me to share with you that for some time now, we've been working on transforming the economy of Botswana from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based one. We have since realized that intellectual property cannot be left to the sidelines if this is to become a reality. Therefore, the convening of this important session of Council of Ministers could not have come at a more appropriate time. And much as I say it in respect of what we have experienced in Botswana, there is no difference between us and you, from whichever country you come from in Africa. I'd like you to take a mental leap back in time and think of creations, innovations, and designs that rural African communities used on a daily basis. So think of your parents, think of your grandparents or great-grandparents. Think of the folklore you heard as you grew up. Our forefathers composed songs, they composed other creations and continuously improved their livelihoods. And they also came up with solutions and implements to improve their agriculture, their food, their health, their environmental, their spiritual, and industrial practices. I believe that you'll agree with me that Africans have been trading and practicing intellectual property from time immemorial, even though they did so without the express knowledge of its theories, its principles, and terminology. Distinguished guests, I'm reliably informed that among ARIPO member states, and with the support of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Tanzania, and of course Botswana carried out studies to measure the economic contributions of copyright industries. I urge all of you to look those studies up and see, imagine where you stand. In all instances, it is found that the creative sector competes well with traditional sectors in its contribution to the gross domestic product and employment. The contribution to the GDP ranges between 3.46 to 5.46%, while with regard to employment, it stood between 2.66 to 5.63%. My question is, as ARIPO member states, how do we ensure that we grow and reap maximum benefits from this sector, this low-hanging fruit sector? Distinguished delegates, just recently, the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe. This led to innovations birthed within the short space of time to save humanity. In our own countries, our people came up with hand sanitizers, sanitizer dispensers, and some scientists researched the virus with a view to coming up with treatment. On the contrary, when looking at the 2022 and 2023 Global Innovation Index, it is glaringly evident that we, as Africans, are generally not doing well. It is, however, commendable that 10 ARIPO member states among African countries are subjected to the Global Innovation Index assessment. And I am particularly pleased that Botswana attained third place in sub-Saharan Africa. Don't be too much in a hurry to be pleased with that, because it's a comparison among us who are at the bottom end of doing what we do. So remain dissatisfied, and with that, propel yourself to go and catch up yesterday, so you can undo the applause for that. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, the point that I'm putting across is that Africa has always been coming up with new inventions. Africa has always been creating arts and music, and Africa has always been designing products. We are still innovating and creating protectable intellectual property works. Therefore, we need to introspect and see what we are not doing right that hinders our creativity from growing to global standards and impacting our communities and the world. The assessment of our shortcomings and corrective measures should begin with national IP offices. After this, we would then step up to ARIPO level to strategize and unblock bottlenecks. We have since capacitated our people and institutions to generate IP and to administer its laws. We took it further to establish the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, ARIPO, in recognition of the fact that in unity we can achieve more. 22 members from 54 countries in Africa. Problem. And I was shocked this morning to be told that this is the Council of Ministers that has realized the highest number of ministers responsible for intellectual property attending. I think you have a big task ahead of you. You do your job, ministers, I will do mine. Let's go and whip our colleagues into line. Let's go and whip our colleagues into line. Whip your colleague ministers into line and don't say it, but I'll work on the presidents. I can't say that I'm going to whip them into line, but I will work on it. Because it is unfathomable that in this day and age, when IP presents such a golden opportunity to more than leapfrog at lowest cost, we remain laggards, global laggards. This is irrefragable. So, I offer myself to do my bit, and I can assure you, ARIPO, as I told you when we had a little chat this morning, as I told the DG, not just in Geneva, in New York, and virtually, and yesterday, and I tell you today, you will not find Botswana wanting. We're going to be the biggest supporters of ARIPO. We intend to be the biggest supporters of WIPO from Africa. And like I told my cabinet and my citizens, we're going to invest big time in R&D, in research, in innovation. And we're going to begin to measure our success by the sheer number and the impact of IP and the products that we generate out of that monthly. So, Mr. Caretaker, your work is cut out for you. Distinguished delegates, I mean, just pause for a moment and imagine if it was among African countries that invented Moderna. And then there would be a reverse of the hue and cry about hoarding and price and, Imagine that. Imagine we invented Pfizer vaccine. Imagine that. I don't see why we should not. When we are the bearers in Africa of the largest repository of natural resources, most of which are used in the composition of new products, when we are the bearers of the greatest size of a growing, youthful, alert, astute population in the world, and promise for that to be for a long time. The talent, the latent talent, potential is here, and we cannot not harness it. So I urge you to go back to your capitals and go and double the budgets that you spend, treble the budgets that you spend on IP. If your presidents or your governments ask you how it's done, ask them to take a look south or north in Botswana, right here. They must come and benchmark and see how we do it. We will do it and show you. Distinguished delegates, it's commendable that 3 years shy of 50 years, we achieved a lot through ARIPO. It is heartwarming that ARIPO has adopted and is implementing regional IP protocols. It's collaborating with universities and other cooperating partners to offer IP master's degree programs. This is for the speech. I said something else to you this morning. We'll keep it between ourselves. The continuous capacity building is applaudable. Expanding ARIPO headquarters and many other achievements are also worth celebrating. Most importantly, ARIPO now stands at 22 member states and growing, I'd hope, at a rate you will make public soon. My encouragement, therefore, is that let us continue bringing other countries on board. Honorable Ministers, I'm personally passionate about traditional knowledge systems, and my cabinet knows so. I believe that they form a foundation for African innovation, especially when you look at the knowledge built around genetic resources, be it for agriculture, food, health, or environmental purposes. I want to see Botswana leveraging this wealth of knowledge and making it relevant and useful for today's society. And yes, generating systems, services, products, and income. And yes, sharing with our brethren throughout Africa on how we do what we do. We have put together building blocks for this to happen by ensuring that traditional knowledge initiatives are at the forefront of our national intellectual property policy implementation projects, which include promoting research and development in traditional knowledge practices in order to establish a pharmaceutical industry in Botswana. I therefore challenge you, honorable ministers, to also ignite the same passion in your own countries. Distinguished guests, I am informed that of the 5 technical protocols that ARIPO member states have adopted, implementation is in full swing for the rest of them except the Sokopmund Protocol for the protection of traditional knowledge and expressions of folklore, which came into force in 2015. It is important that all protocols move at the same pace. I therefore urge the ARIPO Secretariat and the Administrative Council to reflect on the block clinics that come up with transformative strategies to change the status quo. Dear guests, given the scale of our ambitions to use IP as a catalyst for growth and development, I implore you to ensure that you firmly play a leading role in the African Continental Free Trade Area, Phase 2 negotiations which prioritize intellectual property rights. In order to increase your knowledge, expertise, and resources, I'd also like to urge you to harness synergies with member states, regional economic communities, and the African Union Commission. And yes, yesterday I assured DG Tang that I would, in the space I find, urge the leadership of the AU as the second vice chair of the Count Bureau to embrace IP, to embrace ARIPO, to embrace WIPO. Honorable Ministers, let us remember that one of the strengths of unity is learning from each other for accelerated achievement of our respective goals. In 2011, the Botswana Parliament approved the establishment of the Companies and Intellectual Property Authority, CIPA, as an autonomous body. As government, we are proud of this decision because we see its impact, including an improvement in efficiency and in revenue generation. In conclusion, allow me to recognize the role that the World Intellectual Property Organization plays in the development of Africa's IP system, and particularly to recognize this refreshed, energized, astute, and well-resourced Director General and his staff. For he clearly is a complete refreshment of what we have known WIPO to be in the recent past. And never waste an opportunity, Africans. While he's there, while he's here, while he's doing what he's doing, let us harvest and harness everything we can from him and his team. They remain committed and ready to support us. It is delightful that a strong collaborative partnership exists between WIPO and ARIPO as we see it today. Certainly, as member states of both organizations, we have benefited separately and jointly from the synergies that both institutions forge. Director General Tang, on behalf of ARIPO member states, we wish to express our profound gratitude for the support that you, personally, and with your team, and WIPO member states have extended to us. We pledge our continued support towards achieving the mandate of WIPO. The same gratitude goes to all cooperating partners here present. Honorable Ministers and dear delegates, I'm honored to declare the 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization officially open and pula, as we say in Botswana.
Another resounding round of applause for His Excellency. Thank you so much, Mongaruna. Moving right ahead, there's always a thank you. So I want to believe that I should be calling African Regional Intellectual Property Organization Director General, Bemanya Tobaze. There's a thank you that you need to bestow unto our president. Please come to the stage, sir. And if you are ready with it, please bring it forth. I don't know, maybe you would like to speak to it. Come closer to the mic.
Your Excellency, the President, it's my honor on behalf of African Regional Intellectual Property Organization to present to you this infinity carving from Zimbabwe, ARIPO. Thank you.
Beautiful. A round of applause, please. If your interest is to have the president lift that and train, just know that the president is already training, he's already fit. So I don't know, it looks very weighty, and I'm also interested in its monetary value, that beautiful, beautiful, what do you call it again? Infinity. Yeah, okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I want to believe that His Excellency the President also has a thank you to bestow to ARIPO. Your Excellency.
As one head of state was once famously quoted, I will revenge.
From ARIPO to the president, from the president to ARIPO. Talk about revenging. And that's a beautiful painting given by the president. And that painting was made by a young Motswana painter, a young Motswana artist by the name of Hwemione Mudisane. I'm not sure how young they are, but I'm told they're very young. I don't know if they'll be able to vote next year. But if they're not of age, I think that's a waiver. They'll be able to vote. Intellectual property, many opportunities that it presents, and that is why you see even young people coming in, even the painting itself. And earlier, the poet is all the way from Tsane. Tsane is miles, hundreds of miles away from the capital city, from the very rural villages where you would even find talent in superabundance. So it's an inclusive economy. Nobody's left behind. A round of applause for all that, ladies and gentlemen. Now is your time, the host minister. They say in Setswana there's an epigrammatic expression to say, he who speaks or delivers last is royal or is king. And is it irony because he has blue blood? The minister, Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, Musi Khafela, for the vote of thanks. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benson Puteho. Please, my apologies for that theatrical entrance. When Mr. Puteho pronounced, we all thought that he was inviting a vote of thanks. I saw the Director General was struck with a bit of paralysis. He looked at me. I was equally struck with paralysis. My apologies. We are very attentive to language. A slight word can get us to do that which when we were growing up about the story of MOKGWEETSI, those who know it. Please allow me, Excellency, to be ultra-conservative with time and dispense with the meticulous navigation through our protocol and simply stand by the protocol, Your Excellency, which you pronounced. I salute you all. Folks, please join me in expressing a debt of gratitude to His Excellency, the President, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric MASISI, for Your Excellency having set aside time in your epic schedule of leading the country to come and grace this occasion and open this 19th session of Council of Ministers for us. For that, Your Excellency, we thank you profoundly. We have heard you with crystal clarity on what should occur going forward. We have our marching orders, Your Excellency. Your coming here this morning is an indication to us of the priority which you place intellectual property and the generation of income or the growth of the economy through its use. I should also thank, without any order of importance, ladies and gentlemen, the Regional Intellectual Property Organization for having at the 18th session, which was held in Victoria Falls, chosen Botswana as the first vice, which traditionally meant that all following meetings of the organization would then take place in Botswana going forward, and the tradition being that we would then take over the baton of being the chairperson for which I'm delighted to do later on today. We thank you profoundly for having put this work together. And I must also thank you, sir, with your Director General, together with your team, who worked meticulously and with such great dexterity, acquitted themselves. It's on account of that we have this event today has seen the light of day. Let me also thank profoundly the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Mr. Darren Tang, for having, against all prospects of travel fatigue, journeyed all the way here to come and grace this occasion and impart knowledge, and much of which we have already, since you came, started assimilating. We thank you profoundly, sir, together with your deputy, for having come through to this event. I would like to also thank you, the chairperson of the Council of Ministers, for having led this council over the years when you were conferred with this responsibility. It has been a success. A lot more has to be done, as you've heard His Excellency, the President has pronounced upon us to do. But we thank you profoundly, sir, for your leadership during the time when you were heading this council. I would like also to thank the CIPA, the Companies and Intellectual Property Authority, and the chair-elect, who at present, the ARIPO Administrative Council, Mr. Joel Ramapoy, and your team, for the hard work which went into this, and all the errands which your team ran day in and day out to put this event into the success to which we are now seeing this morning. We have our partners who I've had the pleasure to acquaint myself with on Monday when they appeared here. We'd like to thank you too for the assistance you have rendered to ARIPO, in which you are continuing to render up to now. And as I draw to conclusion, let me thank particularly those who sunk their hands to the depth of their pockets to assist us financially in order to put this event. I should thank the National Agricultural Research and Development Institute, the Selebe Pikwe Economic Development Unit, the Silo Group, and I should also thank the Gambling Authority, all of you who have contributed to this event. I also thank the Director of Ceremonies for having provided his services in kind, as well as the Brando Kiabilwe, who too have offered their services in kind to this event. I thank my cabinet ministers who I see here present to graced the occasion to give it the success which it deserves. Fellow ministers from the ARIPO member states, I do thank you for having journeyed all the way here to this beautiful city, Gaborone, to come and join us in this historic moment. And lastly, we owe a debt of gratitude to our media for playing an important role in ensuring that our words get disseminated across the length and breadth of this country and beyond. For the work that you have offered to us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to invite all of you to applaud ourselves, applaud our partners, applaud His Excellency the President, especially for the tone which has been set for this 19th session of the ARIPO Council of Ministers, which is held here in Gaborone. Let us join hands to applaud ourselves, please. Your Excellency, we are quite mindful and attentive to the pronouncement that we should change, Are changing, and we are committed to living up to that, and we will improve in the attendance, Your Excellency, of our member states to these, to this ARIPO gatherings. And I thank you for your attention.
Let us thank Honorable for thanking everybody. From thanking the President, all the stakeholders, all the sponsors, Spedu Gambling Authority, NADIS, Desai Law Group, Afripi, Adams and Adams, everybody. We thank you so much, and mostly to Tautona. When we try thanking you, those who speak English, they would say we run out of superlatives in trying to show our gratitude. So one more time, Tautona, thank you for being ever present. These are interesting times. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be having at this point a photo session, well choreographed. I'm the one directing it now. I don't know who scripted it, whether it's WIPO, ARIPO, SIFA. There's a script writer, there's a producer, but I'm the director. This is how we're going to do it. We have 9 takes. The first take will be His Excellency and WIPO Director General. I know you took pictures yesterday, but you're not here. So since you are here, we want to capture the moment and document and make sure we create these memories lest we forget. So the second set, ladies and gentlemen, I'll announce it at this point. Let's have His Excellency and WIPO DG for a photo shoot. Couple of seconds.
Next time we behind a bandstand.
And I'm going to humbly request the President to remain, and thank you, sir. I'll call you again for the second or third installment. Let me now call ARIPO Director General, Mr. Bemanya Tobaze, with HE. Thank you so much. And then let me invite Honorable Musi Kafela, Minister of Trade and Industry, Chairperson of ARIPO Council of Ministers, Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs from Zimbabwe, Honorable Ziyambi. And while they're all there, while you remain, please remain. Let me invite DG. Please come, join them.
This winds up the official opening of the 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, which of course kick-started this morning. And of course it has, really did start on Monday with a series of events and different dialogues and conversations. But today was the official opening, which was of course done by His Excellency Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI. And there's so many takeaways to get, obviously, from what was said. He did reiterate Botswana's stance and posture in ensuring optimization of IP systems to develop or to drive a sustainable development, and of course Botswana's knowledge-based economy quest. And maybe just to not take too much time, I do have with me Dr. Graham Mhlakaza, who of course is the head of human capital and administration at ARIPO, just to give us a few insights as to the different conversations today. Good morning, Dr. Mhlakaza. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and for hosting us. Yep.
Exciting times for Africa, exciting times for the 22 member states who, of course, affiliated to ARIPO. What are the biggest takeaways from this week and, of course, just from today's official opening?
Excellent. Thank you so much. You raised two important issues. You're asking about the takeaways for this week. We started our meetings on Monday. We had the Honorable Minister of Industry coming through to open our proceedings. That was the Administrative Council of ARIPO. Mainly two issues that we tackled: technical issues in respect of intellectual property. The Administrative Council comprises heads of IP offices in our 22 member states. They deliberated on issues relating to the performance of our protocols, because our work is governed by the protocols. We have the Harare Protocol on patents, industrial designs, and utility models. We have the Banjul Protocol on the protection of trademarks. We have the Swakopmund Protocol on the protection of issues to do with traditional knowledge. We acknowledge the statements made by His Excellency Dr. MASISI this morning, where he emphasized the importance of traditional knowledge in driving the IP agenda for Botswana and for the continent at large. So the Administrative Council received important updates on that. Then they also tackled the administrative aspects, corporate governance issues of the organizations, our strategy, where we are. We have a 2022 to 2026 strategy. How far have we gone? What are the challenges? What are the prospects? What have been the achievements? Notably, our finances have been growing over the last 3 years at a tremendous rate. We are talking in the region of 10 to 20% year-on-year increases. Patent applications are on an upward spiral, and we're so excited about the prospects of the organization, notwithstanding the fact that we need to strengthen our governance, our compliance, audit issues. We received unqualified reports regarding our people. They are the drivers of the strategy. There are a lot of improvements that the Council approved. So from the Administrative Council, we are now with the Council of Ministers, which we have been privileged that it has been opened by His Excellency the President of the Republic. Some of the issues he raised, I've already talked about traditional knowledge, the issue of the knowledge-based economy. The world revolves around IP, with the Industrial Revolution, with the Agricultural Revolution. Now we are in the knowledge-based economy. So the question is, how best can Africa position itself in the IP space to ensure that our ideas are protected? What are we doing in terms of the work of the creative industries, the copyrights, those that are doing their works, artistic works? We need to do a lot as Africa, because there's a lot of potential that lies within the IP space, employment creation, and its contribution to the gross domestic product of our economies. And we believe that Africa really is the future. If you look at the composition of our population, much of our population is the youth, and the youth are the future. So as ARIPO, we are here to ensure that we harness our nationals from the various countries in order that they can create economic value in their different spaces. Then as ARIPO, we are continuing with our drive to attract more membership. As you might have heard, we now stand at 22 member states, but we are looking at expanding our membership so that our voice on the continent, we are able to coordinate our activities as a continent in order that we push through the economic development agenda of Africa, aligning even with the broader perspectives that are coming through the African Union. Thank you.
And maybe just to appreciate the membership aspect of things, and of course the benefits of being affiliated to ARIPO. You're talking wanting to expand beyond obviously 22. How many are we looking at in terms of what is the goal at this point?
Indeed, our goal is actually to have each and every country on the continent becoming part of the African continent, of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization. Of course, there are certain dynamics that we have to follow. The pace may be slow, but we believe it can be made faster. if we really present ourselves as the most preferred regional intellectual property system. So in terms of the advantages that we pose or that we present to potential member states is that when you come to a regional system, it brings about efficiency, because one application through ARIPO, you can then designate various member states to grant you that protection. So there's no need for an applicant sitting somewhere to be going to individual countries to seek protection. So we are saying as ARIPO, this system has to bring those efficiencies and convenience for our various users across the globe.
And in terms of the ARIPO strategy, the 4-year strategy that you have in place, you did mention the value of young people obviously taking up, space in this, IP ecosystem. To what extent are we seeing them being engaged in the innovation, which of course is an untapped, expression, if you may? There was mention of the Global Innovation Index not doing very well. African countries are not doing as well as they should be, given the potential that they have. To what extent are young people being engaged in this space to leverage opportunities? I mean, we're living in the digital era, and young people mostly take up a lot of space in that digital space.
Yeah, the engagement is basically in two parts. The first part is the work that we are doing in terms of capacity building. We go around the various member states with various programs. We look at innovation centers, we look at research and development institutions, we look at universities, whereby we go in there and preach the gospel of intellectual property and the value that it can create to our various economies. So that's the approach that we are taking. And there is lobbying again to see how best we can see our educational institutions incorporating IP at the very lowest level, even primary education, secondary education, and high school, so that when we have that awareness, we can then be able to carry along our youths as they seek to protect their inventions.
Right, Dr. MOKGWEETSI, I'm going to have to end it here. Thank you so much for your insights and, of course, for sharing with us your biggest takeaways from this session.
Excellent. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And of course, this brings us to the end of this conversation. That was Dr. Graham MOKGWEETSI, who of course is the head of Human Capital and Administration at ARIPO. And of course, this brings us to the end of this official opening. And of course, this event will continue until tomorrow, bringing in obviously different conversations around what the IP ecosystem has to hold and how African countries, the 22 who of course are affiliated to ARIPO, stand to benefit from the ecosystem. And of course, developing Africa, the Africa that we want. I'm Utsidile Onkabetse, and of course, this is how we end it.
And with that, we come to the end of the daybreak this
Dumela batswana betso. Oike Calvin Pukunzi wa Calvin Investment. Mme se re tlo buang ka sone tsatsi la gompieno ke mo re go bitsa re ke money mentalities. Gore re le batho re kgaogantse ka group tse 5. Gona le mo go bidiwang gotwe ba ba kobo dikhutshwane ba ba go tlase ba ileng gore ba tshela day to day mentality. Ga bo go nna ba ba latelang ba week to week mentality. Go go nna le ba month to month mentality. Go go nna le ba year to year mentality and decade to decade mentality. Pharologanyo ya batho ba ke ba lebella madi ka go sa tshwaneng le ka di mentality tse ba nang le tsone. Mme ano ha o lebella group ya ntlha e re bitsa re ke group 1 ya day to day mentality. Ke batho ba ileng gore dikakanyo tsa bone di fella mo letsatsing. Sengwe le sengwe se se bua le bone o tla utlwa ntse re ka moso nkgantele